Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Day Mystics Show. Our mission here is to help you turn whatever you desire into real-life manifestations by sharing our revolutionary technology to make that happen for you. We bring you such cutting-edge guests through our resident wizard, Peter Schenk, and also through such magical guests each week that are really making a difference to improve our lives on a variety of levels. I am your co-host, Donna, along with the founder of this program, the Modern Day Mystic himself, Peter Schenk. Peter, how are you?
How are you? Doing good. I'm excited to have a really cool person back, dear friend of mine, man that woke me up. Jason is a favorite on the show, obviously. We got really good synergy together. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
You bet. I am happy to tell you about Jason Davis, of course. So Jason Davis has an unusual grasp of what is now called quantum theory and how all that relates to depth psychology, mythology, cosmic consciousness, cosmology, and so on. Using his own alchemy, he had an experience of opening a conduit to infinite intelligence. Jason says we have amazing things coming. Merlin Stone's awareness. He also has the BioLocation course and Juva Peak mental physical energy spray. So we've got Jason tonight, Jason Davis from the Superbeings, to come talk to us about all of that. And of course, not just that, we've got some other things happening today. We're going to talk a little bit about the HFA and of course the upcoming master classes as well that start this week.
Jason, what's up, my buddy?
Yes, sir.
How are you, man?
Present and accounted for.
So, it's funny. I run down to the post office and I send you out an HFA earlier in the week, and you just got it 5 minutes before the show.
Right.
So before we jump into it, tell us your first reaction, initial thoughts on it.
Well, I'm holding it in my hand right now. Switched it back and forth between the left and the right, and you know, you can, when holding it in the left hand, you can feel the inflow of it, and holding it in the right hand, you can feel the outflow. So it's balanced that way. Not that many things just made of copper can, you know, just so perfectly mimic that balance, and of course it's not mimicking that balance, it's just that way, just automatically. It's got a beautiful buzz to it, it really does. I mean, you know, people could put these under their pillows and just have, you know, pure, refreshing, you know, rest, and probably some pretty slick dreams too. Have you noticed that at all, playing with it? You put it under your pillow ever?
No, it goes in my truck. It's a new way to travel.
You know, it's portable.
If you sleep in your vehicle, you can put it under your pillow, not in your bed.
You can, you know, that's the beauty of portable things. You just pick them up and carry them into the house with you, and then you know, put them under your pillow. You know.
So I just finished another 1,000-mile road trip with mine, and you know, I can't say enough. It'll all come out. I'm producing a 5-minute video of that adventure with some clips sliced in, and you know, really bringing the product out, talking about it a lot. So you're actually the fifth person to experience the HFA in the real. Can you just comment a few minutes on the build quality of it, how it feels in your hand?
It's exceptional. And it was, you know, made by some craftsman machinists, no question of it. I was curious about, you know, is this based on the Fibonacci, or is this based on the golden section?
Both. The top part is. The bottom part is the Seven Sisters of the Palladium star system.
Really?
Yeah. So the top part.
The quality of that etching is you know, striking.
this particular product goes to 4 factories to complete it. And the last completion is the emulsion on there, which protects it from oxidizing. It's got a little bit of built-in scratch resistance, so you don't, but if you drop it on the concrete, you're probably going to scratch it a little bit. But it won't affect, as long as the silver lining's not damaged, you're not really going to affect the field at all.
Right.
Guys, hold it up. It was. There you go. Thank you.
There's the back of it. Of course, you can't really get the beautiful copper color. Looks actually just like gold. Peter,
maybe next version.
Peter and I have a funny story about that we'll, go into at our leisure someday.
Which one? So, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, just working hard, basically. Also writing a novel. I don't know if I mentioned that to you.
No.
All of a sudden, just up and had to write a novel, and I'm about 80 pages into it now. It's going to be out there, huge, big work, sort of magnum opus-ish. And just sort of keeping up demand on the Merlin stones, which we'll talk a bit about tonight. And just really just basically that, a lot of creative stuff.
Tell me about the book. What's it about?
You could almost title it something like The Body Users. And its premise is essentially people from the time of Da Vinci, and he's involved in get involved in a project where they project themselves to now into just bodies that are manufactured. And then they use the springboard of now and all of the energetics to spring another 150 years into the future from now in order to have Da Vinci's intelligence invent a time machine that enables them to go back and teach Da Vinci how to do that with his body.
Maybe Aquaware 5 was a part of it because he's in there.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Da Vinci's everywhere.
What's the name of the book?
I don't even know. Not even close.
I noticed in the bottom right-hand corner, which is your left hand, you don't want to put it down, the HFA.
No, I like it. Dude, I like it.
It's like love at first sight, isn't it?
I like it. I really do.
So, tell me what I have here.
That is a Merlin stone.
How did they come into being? And then I'm going to go into my little spiel on it.
Well, about let's say 17, 18 months ago, I really just had a question, and I work with another super seer. I don't know if your audience knows that I refer to you as a super seer, but I work with several, and I asked him about the creation of a certain substance. And, some of this is a little dicey to talk about, or I'd just come right out with what we were talking about, but I kind of can't. And he, proceeded to bring through a recipe that itself led to some unbelievably powerful alchemies, which are called the Merlin lapis alchemies. And the process itself involves the creation of a liquid that's almost like just having a 0 point, and it's a liquid that you can take in any direction you want, and including to metallic products or consumable alchemical products. It depends on how you treat it, what you do with it, and so on. And there was a part of the process where I was prompted to do a precipitation out of the liquid of a dark powder, and that powder had me very intrigued because under magnification it looked like it had metallic chunks in it, and yet it was ceramic in nature. And I thought, well, if you remember anything about high-level alchemy, you're taking a given substance, a given metal as an example, and turning it into a superconductive ceramic, and that's that new phase of matter that science talks about with respect to monoatomic elements. And weirdly enough, and of course not weird because you probably Merlin was behind this. I was prompted to get hold of a high temperature oven, and I needed one. I've used them before. You know which one we used to use. Great big kiln, required 220. It was $35 an hour to run that thing.
Dipping the lights in your house when you turn it on.
Yeah, and I knew I needed to do something else there, and so I found a company that actually had a superb little solution for what they're called tabletop furnace. And so I got one of those, and I just started playing with it, and I got some of the Merlin powder, I could call it, to alloy with silver. And the first time I did that, I held it in my hand, and I was, wow. And then that was when I called you. You might remember, and it was late, and you were just, I think I may have even woken you up. I said, what have I got here? And you just said, it's what Merlin would put in his staff and walk with it to channel the energies. Now leave me alone. Good night.
I think we definitely grabbed something out of the staff on this one.
And yeah, and that one, by the way, is about half the size they normally are. I kind of had to whip that together for Peter in a hurry. We just got led through an astonishing process that involved energetics just on amazing levels. I mean, Peter could probably just look back at any one of the let's say steps with the oven, and and all it would look like is me standing in some sort of star factory or something, because of the energetics that are involved are stunning, and it involves as many as 7 firings after the 7 or so steps just to get to the precipitate, and they've just become more and more stunning every day.
So tell me about what they're for, how you use them, why you create them individually for people and don't mass produce them.
They have to be created individually because during the final couple of firings, we are actually in a position to, even though someone might not be aware that their stone is underway, a part of them is aware, and they will actually sort of show up on the scene and often interfere with its production because of an attachment to outcome and things like that. And so it just so happens that protecting the heating environment from the person whose stone it is at the same time causes it to be encoded specifically to them. And so on the final couple of firings, it gets encoded, but it has to use them basically without their knowledge or intent to reach all the way through to the very core of what they are, all the way to what I would call meta self, or what some people might call higher self. And what they were designed to do before I even knew I was involved in a project of that caliber, if you will, because as you know, you can be involved in projects you didn't even know you were, is it puts people, the owners, directly on the path, the just highest and truest path. Now, for the most part, you know, I mean, from the highest perspective, you could say that everybody really is on their path, and they're never not. And so it really just depends on how, you know, difficult that path is according to the choices that somebody makes, correct? And what that does is put you on that path, clears everything off of the path, and just simplifies everything about walking your true path. And you know, that's the, of course, the simplest explanation. While what it can do, or you know, is a lot of different things. I mean, we have customers who have had full-blown awakenings from having it around. One lady would put it in her belly button and go to sleep, and they would, you know, give her crazy dreams, and you know, things like that.
And why would a person order this, and how do they hear about it?
If as an example, it's, well, from my perspective, it would be as simple as having something, so long as that stone exists, and we call it a stone, by the way, because, and maybe you can help out with this, because I've never really been able to get down to the language that best describes this, but because it is metal while also being ceramic somehow, right? It has the transitional properties of what happens in high-level alchemy, and
but they're ongoing, by the way. They're not stopped just because it hardens and is in a, you know, a state that seems, you know, fairly solid. The properties, the alchemical properties, are still moving.
Right, right. Well, that was one of the things that I, you know, sort of knew about them when I was getting to the point where I was perfecting the finishing process, where they, I knew as an example that they're kind of virtual, meaning that, yeah, they're in your hand, you can see them, you can feel them, but are they really there, sort of thing? You know what I mean by that?
Just here's a quick note. You know, we had Ken Rowland on the show last week, and we were talking about scalar energy, how it moves through the universe faster than the speed of light. These stones emulate scalar energy right out of them. It doesn't move through them, it comes out of them. Very interesting.
Gotcha. That might be true about these, you know, the HFAs, too.
I'm just having fun with them to read them yet.
And so if I, for instance, were looking into getting something like it, and believe it or not, I still haven't made my own, and I have to get that done, is mainly because, you know, we had a pretty good queue lined up, and then I started having crucibles fail, and you know, they were ruining my ovens, and I keep 2 of them, and so I, you know, between those and repairs and so on and so forth, I just haven't gotten to my own. But if I were going to get one, the reason that I would do it would be to simplify everything about walking my highest and truest path. That's why I would do it. And now that I know what I know about them, you know, they are just sort of priceless artifacts in the class of artifacts that you would see being made by Merlin or whomever, you know, in Druidic times, or, you know, whatever. I just know that they're in that class of objects, kind of thing that you know, a king might, you know, send his trusted, you know, expeditioners off with to protect, to deliver to somebody or something, you know. They're...
Tell me about what you were experiencing when you were making this one.
The minute that I decided how I was going to put yours together soon enough to you know, be ready for this show, I started to get a pretty good rush, and I thought, okay, there's Peter's crowd on the scene, getting ready to get involved, literally in, the embodiment of a physical object that, contains and creates and flows as a portal. Some very high level stuff, right? And so, right when I started, it had you all over it. It was interesting.
But it's a half pint.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a repurposed unit, if you will. I mean, I would have been able to, do yours all proper the way that they normally come out, and they can be in different sizes.
When have we ever done anything that was proper? All the really?
Well, I know. The problem is that it was the Mormon Independence holiday here, and so the place that I get my gold was closed for 2 days, and so I couldn't get going on yours. And I thought, well, I've got to repurpose something else, and so I grabbed it and I inquired whether or not it could be done, and it was, there was like a whole team of beings on the scene ready to go to get your stone done, including Merlin and his teacher.
So I've had it for 5 or 6 days now, and I've kept it next to my bed. I haven't traveled with it yet. I've kept it close, and what's interesting is it's opening up now. It's becoming alive, and it's creating an inflow into it around it. I was waiting for this to happen, and it's funny. It's funny how it takes you. It always takes you when I'm playing with something new on that level to kind of open up.
Right.
Very cool. I know there's a lot of people listening and watching tonight that can tune into it. Is that clear? So go ahead and tune into that. Actually, you know what? Why don't you do a water blessing through the stone?
I can do a water blessing through the, because that's so much you'll wind up in the water. So what we could do is, what we could do is just create one on a virtual level that is tuned to the entire call. How about that?
All right. Perfect.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's have everyone get a glass of water, please. Jason's going to do a live water blessing. You probably want to repeat that one more time before we do it.
Everyone grab your water. This is the perfect time to do that.
Let's do it.
Merlin wants to come through on this, doesn't he?
Yep.
Well, this should be powerful. Just let me know.
Do it.
All right, if everybody could just cup your hands around your cup or glass without touching it. Just resting your hands just on the flat surface where you have the cup sitting. And just open yourself. And the best way to do that is just to get into a receptive state of mind let your body relax so there are no resistances there. And say or think, I accept, and I'll tell you when it's flowing. Flowing now. That's nice.
Can I drink it?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't give myself a cup, but I can. How that feels in my body is spectacular.
It tastes metallic. It's good though. I love my job.
Yeah. Oh, do I know that?
I love my job. Never look back.
I love my job. I love people. I love you. I love everything.
So, what are some of the experiences people are having with these Merlin stones that they're ordering?
Well, there a few of them are putting them on forums on the Superbeings website, so that's always a good place to go check, and especially for anybody curious looking into acquiring one, you could just go there and ask questions, and there are some really sophisticated people in there, high level, that could answer questions so that they're somebody independent of me, but. There was an example of a woman who had one, and she went to a jeweler with it because she was thinking of having it mounted in some sort of jewelry setting. I can't remember what she had in mind. I think it's a necklace. And she handed it to him so he could, look it over. And he was holding it for a minute, and finally he just looked at her and said, "What is this?" And he wasn't, an awake kind of guy, but I guess his wife was taking some shamanic healing classes, so he could relate to it to that extent. And she said, well, because as you know, a lot of people don't know how to explain things to mainstream audiences, right? And so she said, well, this was made by a shamanic alchemist friend of mine for me, and he kind of wouldn't let it go, and he just kept holding it, and and his body language was suggestive of that he was ready to move it away from her hand if she went to reach for it, things like that, and that's all she explained. And then I guess after they talked about it, he was inquiring. He says, I got to have one of these, whatever they are. I got to have one. And then another woman, for instance, has done similar things where she would let somebody hold it, and it was kind of interesting because she was a little bit leery of allowing that to happen very long because she wondered whether or not she would need to protect it from them. And I said, no, any resistance that you might feel in sharing one of these with somebody else would be to protect them from it. They are that powerful, and the thing that's crazy about them is that when that encoding moment happens, it can exist anywhere in creation, and it will still do what it does for the owner. It doesn't even have to be in their possession. And the only way to stop it from doing what it does is for me to take it back and get it back into the furnace to wash, to clear it of its encoding, right? And so it could, on Jupiter or in space or at the bottom of the ocean, and it's still going to do for the owner what it does. And let's see, I mean, a lot of them are the typical awakening kinds of experiences that people are having. It brings, a certain balance and changes dreams, and, causes some changes in people's lives that might be, not that they consciously didn't think that they wanted, and then later found out that they did. And so it's one of those kinds of things where it operates, sort of autonomously of the conscious mind's desires and all that sort of thing, and just brings the highest stuff, whether conscious self wants it or not.
What's your involvement in the person that's buying it? Have you ever said no to somebody?
No.
No, as in no. Yes,
No,
I said no to somebody.
no, I have not said no to anybody, because what we kind of knew is that it's really a labor-intensive thing to do, and it was quite a development. So they're not cheap. The least expensive. We can take payments on them and things like that. We're willing to do anything we can to help get them out to people. But the least expensive that we can go on them is $600. And we knew that all by itself was going to be the type of filtering system where those who knew they needed them and would manifest the money to get them and that sort of thing. And so therefore, their stones on other levels already existed, if you get what I mean.
And so have you had any outsiders from the Superbeings being drawn into wanting one of these, and you've created it for them?
I wouldn't say outsider, no, but for instance, members that were new to us and had never, sampled any of the alchemies, any of the things that we do, took one look at that page and said, I got to have one of those, and got in the manufacturing queue.
Nice. And if I ordered one today, what's the lead time on it to my doorstep?
Once you're up in the queue, it's about a week, and that's sort of compressed time, meaning that I work on it a lot, and I hurry to get it done, and so. But I have the 2 ovens, and so I can step up production, and if there were, let's say, 2, 3, 4 people in the queue, it's never going to be more than 2 or 3 weeks.
Again, for the people just joining, this is my Merlin stone, made from Jason Davis. I want to play quickly with this with everybody. I'd like everyone to just kind of close your eyes, sit back, get relaxed, and put their hands like this on the table. Just rest them on the table. And just feel the energy of the stone between your hands. These things are really
that's crazy.
Yeah, just wait. Just wait till it starts creeping up your fingers and moving.
Well, what's crazy about it is that it's here. It's between my hands. I've never had that happen before.
Oh, it's me, buddy. Remember? And just feel it.
Right, but as many times as I've done things with you, this is just crazy how instant that was. It's just there.
I've grown up a little bit, teacher.
Suspended right between my palms. It's there. That is cool. That's very cool.
Just let it creep up your fingers and start running up your arms. This stone, my stone, is your heart center, which is really interesting.
Meaning mine?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Really, really interesting. You might have created the stone for you. Thinking it was for me. I don't know yet.
Well, maybe it's about, I think Merlin and I sort of share a heart, and I think this is kind of about them. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is.
Now, let me get this on for the listeners. Just Again, just hold your hands together like that. Rest them in front of you. And allow that energy that is in the center of both of your hands just to start creeping up your fingers. And we're going to allow it to run up your arms. And we're just going to allow it to flow right into your heart center. You know, I'm watching listeners in the way that I do, and it's just burning karmic energy around people's heart openings so quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It's, you know, just for informational purposes, I think that it's probably worth mentioning once again, see if we can draw a connection to ancient kinds of things where, you know, you're talking about Arthurian era. You know, as you know, I'm sort of in that magical lineage. In fact, not in it. I'm just sort of
Well, here's a bit of personal tidbit. Your debt in salt is paid in full.
Yeah, so it burned it away, huh? I mean,
yeah, it's gone.
wow.
That's just a little personal joke going back a long ways between me and Jason.
Yeah, that's a story you should tell your group sometime. That one's a fun one, and it's very illustrative of how things really work on astral levels.
Well, you know what? Now's the appropriate time. Why don't you share it with them? You're more colorful with metaphors.
Okay. All right, I will. But I did want to mention this. If as an example, and just absolutely correct me if I'm wrong, but if you projected back to Arthurian times, and you know his Merlin was on the scene, he would have asked Merlin, a king would ask Merlin to make him one of these stones so that he could put it in jewelry or in his crown. And these are the kinds of things that, for instance, if we had, let's say, just, oh, I don't know, let's say a Hopi shaman on the show, he would look at it and say, well, that I have to have in my staff. That's something I know that I would put in my staff. And so we do have people getting them and are engineering ways to put them in the tops of their staffs.
I don't think they would put it in their staff because that almost degrades the purpose of the stone. I think what they would do is they would grow the staff from the stone.
Gotcha.
Because there's no non-organic or organic material that can handle what this puts out. And it's not that it would physically deteriorate, but it wouldn't be able to handle it. So my guess would be they would grow the staff from the stone.
Gotcha.
That's what I would have done.
Well, and that probably makes it worth mentioning is that these, you know, became, you know, they named themselves stones to begin with because, as you know, it has that connection to the whole library of thought with respect to the philosopher's stone, right? And so, you know, these things in effect have Excalibur-like energy around them. You know, the very high-level magic of the Merlin lineage, all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's what these things are all about. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that story is this. It wasn't too long into the association Peter and I developed way back when we were first becoming friends and getting to know each other. And he was just astonished by this as I was. But this fiery, angry, thunderous personality just showed up, just red-faced and pissed off. That's all there is to it. And said to Peter, "That man owes you money." And Peter's well explain it. And it was apparently the result of a wager that we made in Roman times, and the wager was, neither of us can remember what we were betting on, but the instrument of the wager was salt, and in that time, of course, salt was a very, very valuable commodity, especially when it came from certain places, because it was, the ancients knew very well about the beauty power of salt, and especially where it comes from, and so with compound interest, stuff like that, the tab came to, what was it, 200,000? It was give or take a little bit.
I don't remember. It was pretty high.
And, yeah, and that spirit, and that's why it makes it such a great lesson for understanding how things work on astral planes, or what we think are non-physical. To the people that are on those levels, they think it's physical, and so for us, for them, we're not physical. I mean, that's really all there is to it, and that just shows you that there's not really any linear time or anything, because the being that in this case was the advocate for he was probably a notary, wasn't he? Something like that. He was a notary that witnessed the wager, something like that. And he made me, literally, he wouldn't leave Peter alone until I wrote up the promissory note for the 200,000. Remember that? And then the minute that I signed it and sent it to you, he was just happy and left.
We'll consider it paid in full.
Remember that? That was weird.
Interesting. It came in a red bag.
Yeah.
This mythology is just insane. So I got this 6 or 7 days ago, and I was pumped to get you the HFA, and it was just funny how you just got it 5 minutes before the show. You went down to the mailbox and it popped up. What's it doing now?
Same thing that you were talking about is starting to. It knows that it's being seen, making the connection, opening itself up, opening its eyes, really, in a lot of ways.
Folks, this is the HFA harmonic field amplifier. Will be on sale in the MDM store next month. It's waking up, but it's not activated. I sent you in the box the. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
And these are basically the instructions. They take about 3 seconds, and you just link it to your vehicle. And once it's linked, in my experience, it takes about, this could obviously vary, but it takes about 2 hours to start noticing the subtleties that pop up in your vehicle. And, I did a 3,000-mile road trip in a rental. When I filled it up for the first time, I got 340 miles to a full tank. When I brought it back, it was 550 to a full tank, which is, whatever the percentage is, that's pretty insane. I purposely waited to get the next batch before I tested in my truck. I went from 12.1 miles around town to 14.9, I believe. That's what David figured it out. It was a 21% increase. That was just in the gas, okay? And then it goes across the board. And I'm producing a 5-minute video on all of this and how it works, but when it's linked to your vehicle is when the magic really starts happening. It pulls the energy from you, from everything around you, from the vehicle that is not harmonic, which is out of balance, and puts it through that counterclockwise, the clockwise spiral, and in the middle is a 0 point, and returns it at the speed of thought down the counterclockwise on the opposite side. And, this is a test bed that's been really, really restrictive. And one of my dear friends, Susan, just took one from South Carolina all the way to North Dakota, and in a 2005 Hummer, and the owner of that vehicle was blown away, completely blown away, saying it was the calmest, best ride she's ever had in that car or that truck, and she's had it for a while. So we expect, these to do great things in the world for people. You know, just imagine like truck. You know, and another thing too is I don't know if you get aches or pains in your vehicle, but you know, so I did 4,000 miles in total in a month with one of these devices, and I had zero joint pain. I'm getting a little older, but you know, zero joint pain. It's crazy. But you know, it means a lot to me that you know you can hold it and feel it. Now we're going to have Ed Edwards on the MDM show next week, and he's had one for about 2.5 weeks now, and he's been doing a massive road trip too. So I'm very excited to hear about his experiences as well. But you know, this is my first venture, bro, into the physical. So you know, I wanted something that was going to be just way outside the box. So back to the stones. What are other people experiencing with these guys? You know what? I was thinking about putting this in a leather pouch and putting it around my neck. And then when you mentioned the ring, I think I'm going to have a ring designed around it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And I mean, you know, it's again the kinds of things that we'd want to emphasize with it is the level of let's say ancient high magic that anybody would be dealing with and owning one of these things, because I mean, what you have there is something that you wouldn't be surprised to see in the ring of an ascended master, correct? Or, you know, in a setting hanging around the neck kind of thing. I mean, that's the level we're talking about on this, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. This is really waking up. And it's interesting, even when you hold it in your hand, it remains cool. It doesn't absorb body heat.
Right. And so, you know, people have asked about that. Should I put it into a ring? And well, you know, you should do whatever, you know, it wants you to do with it. But I knew for a fact that if it were in a ring setting that was made of a metal that didn't interfere, you know, where the metal itself, and then I thought, well, nothing can really interfere with that, so that wouldn't be a problem. And you wore it on your ring finger, that it would have a very powerful effect on the heart. And we are, in effect, talking about the heart of the master anyway here, in all of the traditional sense of what that means.
You don't think the metal properties of whatever the ring is made of would affect it? Is like copper versus silver versus white gold versus yellow gold.
I guess it's possible that it would, but the minute I had the thought, I thought, probably not. But what do you get?
You know, my initial thought was to have it made in platinum, but then that didn't feel right. It's almost like it doesn't want to be put with noble metals. I don't know why. You know, it's almost like the alchemists of old, the sages, the Merlin types were all, I think, pompers, like poor, you know, not an elite.
Right.
At least for mine, you know, it's definitely not going to be gold. It might be silver, and that I might not even fit right. I don't know yet. I'll do a little bit more research on it when I'm ready. But I'm gonna wear it on this finger, on my thumb.
Yeah.
On my right thumb, yeah.
That's by instruction, huh?
Oh yeah, that's definitely my instruction. You know, I was originally looking at leather pouches around the neck, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right at all. But it almost doesn't feel right to leave it with a jeweler either.
Right.
Maybe I'll send it back to you. I'll have you mount it for me. Better yet, maybe I'll just fly myself out there and have you mount it for me. Or maybe I'll mount it with you.
Or you can just, you know, drive a car and double your mileage while you get, you know, go on the famous American.
I'll be on the road tomorrow.
It's like, you get into your Prius and go on a Grail quest.
I don't want to comment on that.
Yeah, well, I guess the reason I said that is because this also has that all over it. This is, Holy Grail level stuff.
Now, what does that mean when you say Holy Grail level stuff? What is that?
Well, the Holy Grail to begin with, is only symbolized by, various traditions. One being the Last Supper. That's just how the Christians stole the idea of the Grail from the pagans, basically. And then there are other, it's like you can find the chalice motif in almost any ancient art. But the truth of the Holy Grail is that it's the chalice within which the pineal gland rests inside the head. And so all of the Egyptian magic and science, of course for them it was just absolutely science, was inevitably involved in using the current sheet of the sun and its light energy and its electromagnetism to balance and tune and fire up and do things to that chalice-shaped energy field inside the head that basically cups the pineal gland. So that's what the Holy Grail really is. But it finds itself into the legends of, for instance, the Arthurian legends. All of that stuff, that's not just stories. Those are currents of thought that are rendered in allegorical form, as an example, and remain as the types of stories that they are to talk to people on other levels of consciousness and not necessarily just the conscious level self, which is the smallest, least significant self we have. And so that's that reference, and it just so happens that, as you know, the lineage that I am at least directly embedded in, if not the progenitor for, I really don't know, is all about magic and in wizardry and that whole kind of thing. So I have a self that I am very familiar with that is like a 10 or 11-foot cosmic wizard. Right? I mean, you can probably see him right now. And that is one, astonishingly powerful, being.
I don't kiss and tell on the show, so I can't attest to that or confirm or deny it.
Anyway, it's all about the lineage, and the Holy Grail is just one of the symbols of that lineage. And the Superbeings, everything we're doing is about waking up the pineal gland anyway, using the sun and all of those sun-based alchemies to accomplish that.
This is really waking up now.
I'm curious about it now that you've, been able to have it around for a bit and what you're experiencing with it right now. Is it working with the sun as we speak?
Not particularly yet, but have you ever growing up, you ever had those I think the black light posters where you turn a light on and the stars kind of glow?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm a child of the 70s, Peter.
Then wait. You were talking about the Stone Age before when you were walking around. I won't even comment on Donna smiling in the background. I'm the baby here. But and then you've seen the Hubble pictures of the star system. So I'm looking at this now, and you remember I think it was the first time I came out to visit you. You gave me a piece of sheet metal, and the vortex came right out of it. You remember that?
Yeah.
And you said that those were the properties that were in there. Well, this is the reverse of that, where it's pulling in kind of like those star systems. Very, very interesting. But it's getting heavier, by the way, too. This is the first time I've held it. I have not taken it out of the bag prior to the show. And when I first started holding it, it felt very ceramic-y, almost like a ceramic. Now it's starting to feel more like a base metal.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I think something that you mentioned there is worth emphasizing a little bit, because the whole motif of a wizard with his conical headwear, and it's got crescent moons and stars and stuff all over it, and so does his gown, and artwork, or whatever. That is what you're experiencing right now, is basically what they're trying to convey in that imagery, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's always interesting. I see it. You describe it. Very interesting. It's definitely getting heavier. Actually, I happen to have a scale, and I'm gonna weigh it. And at the end of the show, we're gonna see how much it weighs. So right now, I love the power of 3. It weighs 3.3 grams.
Okay, when I boxed it up, it weighed 3.1.
Okay, well, it just went up to 3.4. That's very interesting. It's getting denser as the show goes on. So I'm going to wait one more time here when we get done.
It's worth mentioning the smallest they usually are is between 5 and 6 grams. And I can make them bigger. It costs more, but I can make them bigger.
Mine's growing up as we talk. It's the son of the sun. Everyone see that? Is that blurry?
It's if you back it up a little bit, it'll unblur. There you go.
Donna, do we have any questions from the listening audience?
You know what? We don't.
They're all mesmerized.
Well, wait a minute. Valerie just put in a question regarding the device. Do not drive. I do not drive. Will it have any effects on me if I purchase it for my husband? That's one question. And 2, can we use this in a new vehicle when we purchase it then?
So, in brief, the HFA will work in any mode of transportation, and you don't have to own it. You simply link it to the vehicle. It takes about 3 or 4 seconds. You're good to go. So you can use it in an old car, any vehicle, truck, boat, whatever you have. You just link it and you're ready to go. That's it. Very, very simple. Don't overcomplicate the things I create. People love to overcomplicate aquaware. Jason knows all about that. People overcomplicate everything. As simple as aquaware is to use, this is 10 times easier. It does everything. You just link it and you're ready to go. That's it. And it just gets better with time. Like the stone is getting better with time. It's there. Let's wait again.
Cool. And so, Valerie, I think that answers your question. It doesn't matter when you buy it or whose car it's in. You just need to link it, unlink it, put it in the new car, and link it again.
Makes perfect sense.
Right? Hey, Jason, you didn't get a chance to talk about the Juva Peak spray. I know you had, you and I talked a little bit briefly about that. Do you have time to
Sure.
chat about that?
Sure. I mean, the higher priority is that awareness BioLocation system. What we're doing with that. But the Juva is from a montmorillonite clay, which is one of those types of mineral-rich clays that Aboriginal peoples have used forever to, they would just eat it, as a matter of fact, because of what it contained. And it's one of the strongest things that it does is, by the way, detoxify the body of heavy metals. And so I created the spray out of a need to create a new product for a customer that buys wholesale. And so I got playing with that particular source material, which it just happens to contain, I think it's like literally 76 elements from periodic chart, so it's very complete to begin with. And I just made a high charge product out of it, and it's a consumable, and you can just sort of spray it on your face. I really like it on my crown chakra. It's weird how it's one pump, rub it in a little bit in your crown, and you're just clearer and more awake. And it's kind of all there is to it. And you can spray, 10, 12, 15 sprays just in the mouth, and it clarifies and gives you energy, but it's not, overwhelming. You're not, the heavens aren't going to open and have angels pour through the rift, but you.
Whoa. It happened to me.
But what I love about it is that it's just sustained mental and physical energy, and it lasts 24 hours. It doesn't interrupt with your sleep or anything like that. But you can feel the same at noon as you do at midnight, and it's easy to get things done, and it does tend to promote the part of self that puts things off, and so you can kind of stop your procrastination, because if you get using this, you won't be able to procrastinate anymore, things like that. So it drives you forward really nicely. I love that product.
Will it stop my video game addiction?
Well,
go.
No, because what it does is increase your performance no matter what you're doing. You see it, so.
You're not helping me out here, bro.
all that's going to go on there is you're just going to get better at your gaming.
So, Peter, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask him, Jason, give a shout out to your website so people can know about the BioLocation, because you still need people for that.
Can my website be the page that we put on there be easily seen by everybody so that they know just how to click it and find the stones?
You know what? Give us a shout out to it, because we'll have people come back to this and watch it as well.
Oh, okay. It's the superbeings.net, just like it sounds, /page/ there's so many words involved with this. It's kind of dumb.
So we just need to go to the Superbeings website.
When we send out the email, we'll put the link directly in the email for you, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just on the Superbeings under alchemy anyway. It's one of the main navigation links, and it's under alchemy because this really is very high-level alchemy. And so that's what it is, the superbeings.net.
Would you do one more water blessing for everybody?
Before we do that, let's cover what some of the kinds of things that we're doing and what we need to do. It shouldn't take very long. One of we have some free training in what I call the awareness by location system, and I don't know how it'll probably stay free because of what we're doing with it. And if you were to go get this training just from somebody else, because what this ultimately is just adapted remote viewing, and it's adapted for strictly spiritual purposes, if you will. And the training that we give is very high level and solid as can be, and you could pay $2,500 for it. Especially to get it to this level. And what we've been presented with, and this came from the Merlin collective, if you will, and it actually became a part of the recipe that led to these stones and all of the Merlin lapis alchemies. And what that is I once asked what we were doing, what the critical mass of participants and the number of people was going to be, and the answer was 102. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And so I instantly grabbed a calculator and did some math, and it turns out that it's related to the number 7 and the number 14. And the recipe to create these stones is all about 7 and 14. And I thought, okay, well, that's pretty wild stuff right there. And then in the meantime, we had found that we were being steered towards the exploration of literally a planet that exists on the high fifth density level of creation. And I use density in place of dimension. You know that I do that because dimension is actually just a totally wrong reference to the truth of how this works. And so we, in short, found out that we were being guided to establish some protocols to visit this literally ascended master level planet, even higher than ascended master level planet. And we were establishing the protocols in order to be sort of an advanced, ambassadorship, if you will. I mean, that's kind of what we were doing as a small group. And it turns out it was, a project that had been in the works for years, and we just didn't even know that we were involved in a project again. And we began to literally meet. Now we just literally meet face to face with beings there and sit down and visit with them, and using this BioLocation awareness system. And it was there that we found out that they had been the ones to establish the protocols, and so you've seen the planet before, Peter. You know what it's like looking at it. It's unbelievably beautiful, and is in fact, if you could describe it in terms of our perceptual parameters for distance and size and things, it would be the size of Jupiter. So it's absolutely gigantic. And it turns out... I think
it's coming around. Is it called Planet X by any chance?
And it, interestingly enough, for our group, they set aside some land for it to be our sort of creative sandbox. And that land is actually, if you could, again put it into our perceptual parameters for size, would be the size of the United States. And so what we get to do is use our own carved up place there to literally create whatever we want on what we would otherwise look at as astral planes, when in fact this is orders of magnitude above the astral. And the purpose behind the entire project is to establish a rainbow bridge between Earth and that planet, and flow from that planet into the Earth system all of the knowledge and codes and frequencies that are available as that planet, using ourselves as the portal with this BioLocation system. We're going to begin, now that we've got into a pretty good flow of it, we have 14 adept practitioners of the system right now. We're going to begin actively recruiting, because we need to build that 102 people. And once we have 102 people visiting Shupa through the awareness BioLocation system and using the alchemy, we know that is going to achieve something in the Earth system that could actually, disrupt the codes of time and things like that. It's absolutely gigantic what we're going to be doing, and we just need more people, and so we're actively recruiting.
Sweet. I might be stopping by. I kind of miss all that.
You ought to just give them a quick thumbnail of what that planet looks like and what it's like to be there.
Well, and I don't know if this is easy for people. It is for me. But sometimes before you go to bed, before you slip into RM, whatever.
Yeah.
Not the group, the RM sleep.
Right.
You start to have these colors seep into your conscious mind that you can't see with the human eyes, but they're brilliant. And imagine that in a purplish hue, and it just morphs around the cylinder of the planet. But the colors there, you can't see with the human eye. They're out of the spectrum, but you can see it in your mind's eye when you go to that other place before you slip into REM sleep. And they're brilliant. And this is one of the techniques, by the way, that I used to use to wake up. is I would take those colors and I would paint them on this three-dimensional moving geometry. And it's a great way to fall asleep, by the way, because it's boring as hell. It really opens up your mind. And I mean, that was one of the techniques that I used to use early on to wake up, to level up your consciousness. The more you play in those realms, the better you get, the stronger you get. And then when you take what you've learned there and you overlay it here, you really understand that this is all bullshit, and it's easy to manipulate. So easy.
Right.
So easy.
Especially when you do the manipulation from the planes that we would otherwise look at as dream planes or astral planes, because that's where it's causal for the templates of matter here. Yeah, that's a pretty good description. Because the way that Schuper works, it's its own intelligence. The minute that you're going to it, the intelligence of the planet itself is perfectly aware of you, knows perfectly what you need, knows what experiences you need, and so the way that the system usually works is you wind up just going into a cave there and having everything of Earth stripped away from you, because Earth is such a pollutant that you, no matter how clean you are, you still have to be cleansed before you can even set foot on that planet. And so and then you go into, for instance, what we call the Temple of Adjustment, and it makes adjustments to the astral body that you have. And then you literally step into the body of whatever self you have on that world, and you utilize that body to experience that world. I mean, that's all there is to it. So
wait a minute. I could have less gray hair and more hair if I wanted to there?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, have a look at your body that you have there, because I know you.
Where do I sign up? I could get rid of my jelly roll too without exercising. I love it.
Oh yeah, you could be a regular old Greek god, Pete. Go for it. Yeah, well, the self that I step into there is that cosmic wizard. And, so we have, for instance, Mary, herself there is actually a 7-foot fairy, stuff like that. And they're perfectly aware of when you get there. They know that you're in their body using their senses, quote unquote, to experience that place. And you literally wind up sitting down in meetings with people there. And they're often just as straightforward as you can believe, in teaching us the kinds of things that we need to be taught. What it turns into is this amazing mastery level experience. It's like, we've got one of our main mentors is from New Zealand, and he's here this weekend. And so last night we went out for a little camping party and we were talking about it. And he is a pretty well-studied guy, and he said, I looked into the study of the left eye of Horus, Egyptian mystery school, and the right eye of Horus, mystery school. I've looked into a lot of those kinds of things, and he says, your alchemy and the ABS is like 6 months of the highest level training there is, or you can go use 20, 30 years of your life and do it another way. And so just the practice of visiting that world is a astral body cleansing, an adjustment to get you, attuned to higher level energies. And you can go sit in a lake that's there that is fed by 7 waterfalls that all represent the chakras, and just lie there and get an astral body cleansing and things. And so every session that we go there, you wind up just cleaned and polished and cleansed and clear and beautiful. It's beautiful mastery training, and it's just as simple as it gets.
So it sounds like a lot of love there.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the hallmark of if there is a central energy / concept to Schuper and the intelligence of that world, that's what it is. The love is overwhelming.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
You know, and the place is occupied by billions of people that are all on, you know, fifth density levels and moving higher themselves and so on and so forth. And so the variety of people that you can learn from there is just staggering. And you can learn it according to what you want. You know, you say, hey, I think I'm ready for a higher level lesson in manifestation here. Bring it, will you please? And you'll sit down with somebody that'll start teaching you.
Can you put your hand back to your face for a second? There's light rays coming in again, and they're purple on your thumb. That's the hallmark. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. Now I'm starting to get a little worried. I was like, oh. Donna, do we have any questions from the listening audience?
We do. And I want to get to Michael. Michael has a couple things. First of all, he says he definitely is getting a harmonic field amplifier, the HFA, and he's also going to get one of your Merlin stones. So be looking out for Michael Mann. But also, Michael is talking about, let's see here. Peter, you projected the energy of the stone. I felt it and then saw a brilliant blue on one side and a beautiful earth green on the other, moving through my body with sparkles of silver and gold.
That's
so
awesome.
Peter, that one's for you, for Michael.
Was that a question, or he needs a description?
He probably, I don't know, he might need a description.
And that was Michael Mann?
Michael Mann. Do either of you guys know Michael Mann?
He's going to direct an even bigger Star Trek movie in the future, and all that stuff happening is beam weapons and laser weapons, and it's all coming to a reality for you. No? That wasn't...
Might be kind of true. Michael is in film.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you know, he's also saying, Peter, how about koa wood setting for your ring? I don't know if that makes sense to you.
What kind?
I guess for the ring that you were talking about for Jason Stone.
Yeah.
Michael is suggesting the koa wood.
How's that spelled?
K-O-A?
Koa wood.
Perhaps I'm pronouncing it incorrect.
Well, you know, I know in those magical traditions, for instance, the Druids, you know, the kinds of wood that they would use on their implements was extremely important.
Yeah, it's koa wood rings. That's pretty cool. Thanks for that tip, Michael. I'm going to check that out.
Valerie also, she's really wanting to know about the FHA and will it affect anyone in the car?
It affects everything in the car. Everybody, your pets, every person in the car is going to have an amazing experience. Everybody. The only thing I'm still trying to figure out is after the initial linkage. In my experience, it takes about 2 hours to start the subtleties to start happening. Now, Jason, I know the one that you have has already altered itself again. So what's it doing now?
Still adjusting.
Okay. But the adjustment is you know, everything in existence has consciousness, everything. And it's no different from the creation in the HFA. So the consciousness is always playful, like me. It just likes to play.
Get this. It's doing the linking on its own.
Great.
So then they're personal, Peter. Would you say that they're personal?
I wasted money on these things. The instructions, it's automatic.
Peter, would you say they're personal?
What's that?
Would you say that they're personal? The HFAs, the Merlin stones, are they personal?
Extremely personal.
Thank you.
Everybody that has touched these does not want to give it up on any level. You're the same way. Film director Sonny Marlar in South Carolina, I was on the phone with him talking about the video I'm producing now for this device. And he's like, I want it back. And those were the prototypes that I had created. He's like, I want it back. I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't have any yet, but they're coming. So yeah.
You interested in the message that it has for you?
What's that?
Are you interested in the message that this one has for you?
Can we say it publicly? Sure.
Yeah, we can.
PG.
It's actually sort of paradoxically fun. What it's saying is just, well, it kind of goes like this. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it says, it's joking, of course, and says, that card that Peter made, that's for people like Peter.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to comment on that except.
Well, you ought to look at it.
I don't want another 1,000 emails from people saying how does this thing work. So with this particular device, I have taken oodles of time to make everything perfect, from the packaging, not the package that you got, by the way, but the new ones coming, to the way it works, to the way you link it. I mean, I put a lot of time into this. So.
I mean, well, you probably ought to have a look, because I think we're finding out a little something new about this. But right now, it's got my truck in a field, and it's making changes to it.
Isn't that wild? I mean, when you one of the catchphrases is something like I don't know here I'm gonna read it because this really describes it perfectly. What if there was a product that defied logic but was completely in line with your intuition about how things should work? I mean, how perfect is that for this device? And ultimately, it's a new way to travel. Look, I drove one of the scariest roads in America for 20 years, every day at 5:30 in the morning. Jason, I was always up when you were going to bed.
Right.
And I know what road rage is, and I've been a part of it a few times. And when I made these 4,000 miles, these 2 trips with this device, it never came into my sphere or my head while I was driving. You become very compliant, it's so hard to describe, but you're in that womb of serenity. Everything is just as it should be, and you're going to get to your destination when you get there. And it's like time, it doesn't work.
Did you use it ever to shorten the distance?
That I didn't try.
I'll bet you it'd do it.
But I had my 14-year-old son in the truck with me for 12 hours, okay? And he did not complain once. Not once. How normal is that for a 14-year-old to sit with their dad for 12 hours? It's not normal. Not one time did he complain.
And you didn't give him any happy drops?
No, nothing.
No, are we there yet?
No, nothing.
Here's some happy drops, son.
Be happy.
Enjoy the ride.
So,
you know what, Peter? Real quick, John, I believe it was John, Jon. No, excuse me, Charlene. John wanted to know what's the cost of the HFA.
what is an HFA?
No. What's the cost?
They're going to probably be around $397 retail on the website, $397. But when we do debut them on the MDM show next month, there will be a significant discount for 1 hour after the show to place that order. I'm not taking pre-orders on these, although I felt like doing it a few times. That's not in my nature. I want to wait till I have the physical devices here. So if you order it after the show, boom, I can drop ship it the next day. They'll be going out priority mail. Shipping is free inside the U.S. They'll go out priority mail, but they will require a signature on your end. So they can go to a P.O. box, they go to your front door, but you're going to have to sign for them when they arrive.
Very nice. Plus you also have it right now, just for right now, part of the masterclass special.
Exactly. So, folks, This is the third generation of master classes that Donna and myself have produced, and this next series is 6 courses over 6 weeks that retail for $400 a course. We're giving them to you for $997. It's all about taking control, and I'm putting in a free HFA when they are available in August. They'll just be drop shipped to you. So that's a $2,797 value for $997. You have to take advantage. We only have a couple seats left. If you want to do it, they start this Thursday, August 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We have international toll-free calling. You can listen to it on your computer. So it's an amazing deal. A couple seats left. If you want to jump in, I highly suggest that you do so in the next day or two. Otherwise, because when the seats are filled up, that's it. We're done. So, and who wouldn't want one of these for free? I mean, this one's got fingerprints all over it, but they're just beautiful, and they're hefty. They weigh in at almost 16 ounces, 1 pound. Just an amazing device. So, Jason, any closing words for the audience?
Just this: having the Merlin energy, the Merlin collective, I call it, because we did in fact. I'm right now. I've got a whole different project that we haven't talked about at all. That involves metal, and it's metal that, for instance, is 95% plus gold, and yet it won't dissolve, and it resists temperatures to so far 3,600 degrees, and so I've got something that I don't even understand here that is being guided by, believe it or not, Merlin's teacher. And the next step for this particular piece is going to be minus 300 degree temperatures. And then it's going to be 2,600, and then it's going to be minus 300, and then it's actually going to go through a plasma arc process. And whatever's coming out of this is going to be exceptionally powerful, legendary level stuff, and I'm actively open for financial partners on this. And so, if anybody in the audience has some disposable income or wants to get involved with some of the highest level things literally going on Earth, we can talk about it. And I really can't, talk about any more of that stuff on this public channel, but I can privately. And I just wanted to throw that out there, that we are actively seeking financial partners for a massively powerful project.
Awesome. Good stuff going on over at the Superbeings. I feel kind of bad I haven't been actively participating in the last.
Well, you're a busy fella.
It's a little bit, right?
Jason, awesome. Thanks, bro. Really good having you back. Really good having you back.
Thank you.
I love these conversations, and I love sharing these conversations with people.
Yeah.
Again, thanks everyone for joining us tonight on the MDM show. Donna, thank you. Master classes, HFA,
Thanks,
Merlin
Don.
stones, amazing stuff. And the Merlin stones just off the chart. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. See you next Sunday.
Night.